How do you build a legacy? One day at a time, one race at a time, one lap at a time. In 2025, Niece Motorsports celebrates their own legacy made up of 10 seasons in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The team is owned by Al Niece, a businessman and a veteran of the United States Marine Corps serving in Vietnam. Entering its 10th season, Niece Motorsports has earned 9 wins and amassed 50 top 5 finishes and over 100 top 10s. The team has made NASCAR's version of the playoffs on 5 occasions. Follow along as we take you behind the curtain and into the stories of the people who've built the team. This is Cody Efaw.
Hi, my name is Cody Efaw. I'm the CEO of Niece Motorsports. I've been really overseeing this place for 10 years now, 10 seasons. I've done a large range of duties from spotting to crew chiefing to janitor, working in the shop, mechanic, welder, fabricator, just whatever it takes. I got involved with racing because of my father. He raced whenever I was growing up. When I was real little, he was racing. I don't remember any of that. I remember him having open heart surgery. We got rid of the race car. All the fun stuff on the racetrack stopped. And then a couple years later, he decided he wanted to go racing again, even though he wasn't supposed to, according to doctors. But why listen to doctors? They're no fun. And I was older at that point, so I got to enjoy racing more. And he did it for a couple of years. And then he got out of it again because he just wasn't healthy enough to compete. And then I focused on sports and school and kind of got away from racing. I was still a huge NASCAR fan at the time. And then I went to college and was a broke college student for a year and a half. And my brother worked down here and said, hey, you need to come to North Carolina and see if you can get on a team. And so I made the pilgrimage from Ohio down here. And that was 22 years ago, and I'm still here doing it.
How long have you and Cody known each other?
I've known Cody since I was driving at Roush, so that had to be 2009. He was my truck chief. Yeah, me and Cody have been through a lot. We've done some dumb stuff. I've done some dumb stuff that he's witnessed, but we've gone as far as he lived with me for a while. We've been there through each other through thick and thin.
I first met Cody when I worked at Roush. Cody was actually my car chief when I was crew chiefing. And then we kind of met, and then, that was kind of like a one-year thing, and we all scattered different directions after that year, and then Cody and I always kept in touch.
So 10 years ago, before Niece formed or started, I actually left Roush Fenway. I guess you could technically say I got fired from Roush Fenway. They got me off on a technicality of abandoning my work post. They weren't sure what they were going to do with me. There's talks of sending me to another cup team with one of our drivers at the time who was going to go race for another cup team to go up and handle that deal. I wasn't thrilled about that. I had just signed a new 3-year contract 2 months prior to that to be the shop foreman in the 16 cup shop. It was a whirlwind 10 years ago. I was a new father, right? I had 2 young boys. Figuring out how to do that. I was working, building production, Corvettes, C5, C6, C7s, aftermarket parts and pieces for a guy out of Cornelius, North Carolina. I was helping Travis Pastrana with some fabrication stuff. I was working on an invention of my own in the side-by-side market, ATV world. I was just doing whatever I could to pay the bills, be around my wife and my kids as much as possible. And I really did not ever want to work in NASCAR again. I did almost 11 years at Roush, and I thought, I'm good. It's not me. It's not for me. It's too corporate. It's too much drama. It's not for me. Meeting Al, and Al really probably reignited my flame for NASCAR. I don't want to say racing, but NASCAR and just the corporate world that it is, and being in the cup side, Xfinity side, it's not for me. I wear blue jeans and boots every day. I'm very blue collar. I like working hard. Unfortunately, I lost my dad 10 years ago. A little over 10 years ago. It's I don't know if it's ironic or what it is, that I lost a man in my life that I looked up to, that helped guide me and shape me who I am. I wouldn't be in racing if it wasn't for that man. I probably wouldn't be the dad I am if it wasn't because of my father. To lose him and then gain Al, I don't say he's a father figure, but we talk every day. Like, he's been the constant that I lost. That when you lose a father, you never get back. And it's weird. You want to look at your phone and call your dad. To this day, there's times like, oh, I wish I called dad. I haven't had to do that a lot because I've had Al. So I can call Al. It might be about work. It might be about home. It might be about what's happening in the political landscape. I'd ask him questions. He never, ever in 10 years has never had time for me. He's always answered my questions. He's eased my concerns. He's a man of few words. He's not a man that gives you a lot of hoorah, good job, attaboy, pat in the back. And I think that's just the generation that he grew up in, right? But he's probably always given it to me a different way, through a story, right? Through, hey, back in, I'm gonna throw a date, 87, we went through this, and this is how we got through it. Even back this is how we got through it. Walking into this and coming into this, whether I got lucky, I mean, you can say every day you get lucky. It was an opportunity that I took, and it's changed my life, hands down. I am such a better person being in the position I am at Niece Motorsports, and it's made me grow up. It's made me smarter with money. I've learned so much from out Niece because of that. The things that this place has created for me has helped me in my personal life tremendously. And it's gonna help my kids, right? It's gonna help people that I've helped shape here in their lives. So looking back 10 years ago to now, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm beyond blessed and thankful for it.
Cody Efaw is like a brother. Cody is the organization here in North Carolina. That's a simple way to put it. He's what ties together everything. So that the lights turn on in the morning, the trucks get to the racetrack. He oversees everything. It's a very family business style team where without Cody Efaw, I don't know how it continues on. So that is the fact that he has poured so much of his life into it. In his career, he completely put into Niece Motorsports, pushed all of his chips in on it. It is inspiring to see that.
When you started working for Al, did you ever envision Niece being able to grow into what it is today?
So starting with Al and wondering where the future is going to be, and ever thinking past more than 4 or 5 races was not even on the table. When I met him, we went to Martinsville, missed the race because the spotter didn't show up. Went to Texas, made the race. I remember going to Texas Motor Speedway, walking in the hauler with Al and meeting some of the members that I know now that I regard as very close family. Then I was probably a snob and didn't really have time or day for him. And was like, man, I remember getting a Niece hat and like, this sounds crappy, but like, I want to put that on. And now looking at where we're at now, it's complete disbelief that we're here. I never would imagine getting through even that off season, let alone the following year whenever Al said, hey, I'd like to run 8 races. And we did it, and then we ran them all. And then following year we ran 2 teams. And obviously we've grown to where we're at now, year 10. So in the very beginning, like the magnitude of the task of the hill in front of us to get in the Truck Series, to compete in NASCAR and to make races, I want to say it was tremendous, but it wasn't. Like, I felt like where the Truck Series was at that time, they did have full fields. Some tracks they did, some tracks they didn't. But I felt confident in what I knew. I felt confident in the ability of the people that I brought in to work at Niece. If I had any fears of the racing and the Niece side in the beginning, it wasn't about having success on the track. I felt that we could do that. I felt that we were intelligent enough and capable enough to make sure parts didn't fall off and compete where we thought we should compete at. We had realistic goals. At that time, Ilmore wasn't part of the truck series. There was built motors. We didn't have a built motor. Like we were already down on horsepower. Our goal every week was let's go finish 15th. There was 15 built motors in the field. So through attrition, someone's going to wreck out, someone's going to get tore up. We felt if we finished 15th, we did our job and we won our race that we were running at that time. But my pressure was really more, I went from a really good paying job at Roush. I'd recently been divorced. I was in a spot in my life where like, I needed to make a paycheck. I needed to continue my career. And I was more worried about, is this going to last? Is this going to work? I remember Amanda, my wife, and I talking about, she's like, I don't think you should do this deal. I wanted to see it through because there was something about Al Niece that when I sat down with him that winter, and not sat in person, but on the phone, I remember walking around my backyard, my hands were freezing, holding my phone, talking to him. And he's like, hey, will you just stay and get it through January for me? I want to do some racing. I trust you. Can you do that? I want to do it. Amanda, she was like, no, you need to go to a Penske, or you need to go to a team that was more stable, right? That you knew you could build a family around, you could have a job. And we didn't fight about it, but I saw something out that time that I believed in. I didn't know what he had with Niece equipment. I hadn't been there yet. I had no idea. And I liked him when I met him. It was right for me at the time. I always have been a believer in myself. I'm a pretty confident person that if I'm in control of it, I will do whatever it takes to succeed. And I felt that if I went somewhere else, I was at Roush 10 years, 11 years. During that, I got laid off once. I got brought back. A month later, I got told, it was a mistake. You weren't supposed to be part of that. Well, they shut a whole three Xfinity teams down after we won 11 out of 33 races and won the owner and driver championship. That should be as stable as it gets, and it wasn't. And so to me, it's like, I don't want to rely on someone else that sits in the front office at another company. I want to run the front office. I want to be at that company. I want to put it in my hands. I want the ball. I'm going to get to the goal line. And so the fears was not on the track. I believed we were going to get there. The fears was, I never ran a business before. How do I do this? Am I doing it legally? Am I doing this right? And the fear wasn't in Al Niece. It was just the fact that it's a cruel sport and there was nothing stable about Niece Motorsports at that time. So looking back at 2019 and the inside scoop of what made 2019 work and what was really going on behind the scenes, it wasn't a dumpster fire, but man, it was it was close to it. It had moments where we were financially not stable. It had moments where Al was wanting to shut the team down. We had highs of winning our first race to lows of failing a race at Iowa and getting kicked out, and Al saying, "Hey, we're done doing this." Making the playoffs that year, getting Ross to declare for truck owner points and disregard his Xfinity owner points because he was trying to make a living at that time. The doors blew off his DC Solar deal. He came to Nice, and we went racing, and we didn't have a clear plan on making it through the whole year. Like we had some sponsorship in the beginning, we built on it, we sold some rides on another truck to help fund the whole program. It was a up and down year that we just never gave up. We never quit. Al Niece never quit. Phil Gould never quit. Ross never quit. To come up 1 point short of winning it all is truly remarkable. And I've only touched on the surface of everything that year, everything that happened behind the scenes of that year. I would love to write a book about it.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's talk about this story.
First off, who framed that?
So this is a 7/16 Husky wrench, and it was given to me by Al Niece for our first truck win. And I believe Al or Lou Niece framed it, and it all come from an interview that Phil Gould did after he won Kansas. And he just said, when we started this, or I met Al Niece, I don't even know if he had a 7/16 wrench in his toolbox. Of course, we had a 7/16 wrench in our toolbox. Probably had 20 of them. But what he said there really captured who we were as a company. Like, we didn't have a lot of things. We didn't have all the fancy haulers and the nice crew shirts, and we had one or two good trucks, and it just showed we were the poor old boys trying to make it happen in NASCAR. And this was given to me by Al, and it sits in my, well, it used to be my man cave. I lost my man cave, but that's where it lives now, with things like my home run baseballs from high school and little league and footballs, and the trophy I got crew chief with Ross Chastain in Charlotte. This is probably the best gift in racing I've ever received. And I've been fortunate enough to have a Daytona 500 ring, and this means more to me than that all day long.
Let's talk Iowa. So, again, yeah.
All right, so this is a picture of Iowa and Ross Chastain getting ready to smash a watermelon. Iowa was a great week up until about 30 minutes after the race. And when I say a great week, True North was a sponsor to come on beginning of the year. We had already brought Ross in at that time, and we didn't even know where we were going to get funding to run this year, right? It was literally, let's see what we can do. Al said, let's go for it, right? Which is a horrible idea, and it normally don't work. But True North signed up for some races. And that week, we sat down with the CEO of True North, and he agreed to fund us X amount of dollars for the rest of the year. Me and Ross sat in a chair with him in his office. We walked out of there smiling, ear to ear, happy. It was in Birkdale, high-fiving each other. Let's go do this. Got Iowa win, disqualify us. Obviously, first time in, I'm pretty sure, NASCAR history that team had a win taken away and finishing last. It was frustrating. The success of winning that race and knowing that, okay, everything we put in place by Ross, declaring for truck points, we had to win again. Here it is, make the playoffs. We did it. We dominated that whole day. Went to the back, went to the front. You weren't stopping Ross that day. It was just domination at the end of the day. It's just probably one of his favorite tracks. He's always been good there. It's a track that I really honestly met Ross at. To get Ross in our trucks in 2018, I was crew chief and Justin Fontaine. We were slow in practice, and I got down off the hauler in between practices, and Ross Chastain was in a truck beside us. And I said, hey, you're really good here in an Xfinity car with Johnny Davis. Would you hop in this truck for me and answer some questions? And the questions are, can Justin do this? Do I know what I'm doing? C, is the equipment good enough, right? And I want to know because we were spending good money. Justin and them had good sponsors that were supporting it, and we just haven't had success. We haven't had speed. And I want an honest to God shakedown, Ross Chastain. What do we got? We were 22nd on the board. He hopped in and we went to second on the board. Al Niece called me 10 minutes later, right? I get a text. I guess he tried calling, I missed it because we were practicing still. I got a text and he goes, what did you change? And I said, change the driver. And that's no knock on Justin Fontaine because we put Justin back in that truck during that same practice. He didn't have to get out of that truck, right? He could easily say, nope, ain't happening. But he was willing to grow and take a chance. I was willing to grow and take a chance because it could have been me and the truck could have been horrible. Justin got back in there. We sat on the hauler up on top and we worked. Ross got on the radio, talked about his braking points, where he could gain. Well, all of a sudden Justin found 4/10. Justin found 6/10. He was growing. Next lap, he backs it in the fence, getting into turn 3, right? And Ross looks at me and he's like, that's what I didn't want to happen, right? And I was like, I understand that. And I think Ross was like, we shouldn't have done this. He was worried about Justin's father being upset. We repaired that truck. NASCAR comes to me, you want to go to the backup? I said, absolutely not. I don't know if we had a backup, to be honest with you. But we weren't doing that. I worked late after the garage, not when the garage closed, we worked an extra hour late, came in early, we fixed up the right rear, went and qualified. I'm pretty sure Justin got passed for 10th within the last 2 or 3 laps, and he finished 11th. But the kid drove his tail off all day. It's by far the best race he had up to that point, and he grew so much. And I got to meet Ross. And a couple weeks later, we went to Bristol with a dually and a small enclosed trailer and qualified in the top 5 and ran the top 5. It was fast. And that really solidified Ross Chastain's ability in my eyes. It definitely solidified it in Al Niece's eyes. And that's what ultimately created 2019 and created this day here. And this day here, losing that race, it was hard. It was. I was mad. I was frustrated. I was mad at the other teams that were there pointing out, a height being too low by a margin of inches, as in an eighth of an inch. I was mad at the world. They took the trophies out of the hauler, set them on the ground. We drove off. Ross saw them. Ross grabbed them, put them back in the hauler. There's one still sitting here, and the other one Ross has. And I look at them trophies, and it humbles me every time I see that trophy. And I'm so glad he put them back in the hauler. Not that we have ownership of them. I know they recreated them, and GMS has them. But when I see that trophy, when we have a production meeting or conference meeting or post-race meeting, I remember that day, and that you can overcome anything, because the following week we won.
Yeah, the following week.
All right. So the next week, after the disqualification of Iowa, and knowing that we lost our berth to the playoffs, and we were running out of races to get it done, this was the result of it, with Phil and myself and Ross holding up a Mike Mittler Memorial Trophy, which was very special because Mike Mittler is a great guy and innovator in sport and knew him well. And to win that trophy in St. Louis with Car Shield being there, with the people that Ross works with and the guys that support Ross day to day, help put that deal together. And to win was a feeling that I don't know will ever duplicate in my life. Obviously having kids is the greatest thing I've experienced. This one's pretty close to that, because we walked in that next week. Everyone, it was in USA Today that we failed tech and we lost the race. And we lost the sponsor, True North, on Wednesday after they just said we're doing this for a whole year, called us and said, hey, we don't need bad publicity, and never heard another word from them again. So not only did we lose the Dash for Cash money, the win bonus, the race, being locked in the playoffs, we lost a sponsor for the rest of the year that we thought we just had from that meeting where we're smiling and laughing at each other. So to walk in that day, it was storming out. We went in early, we wrapped the truck there. We played a joke. We actually took some tools and lowered the vehicle and made the vehicle stick low in the garage while we were wrapping it. So when all the other teams came in, they saw it. And it was our way of saying, you know what, we don't care. We can still do this. We can still overcome it. We still can win this. So winning that night and being in victory lane, the series director at the time, he walked up to us and he goes, that truck low again? And I looked at him, I said, it ain't gonna be low today, I promise you. He goes, I know it ain't. And rolling off of there and going to that height stick, I remember taking pictures with the height stick, checking the splitter, with Phil doing this, with it in the green, and all the people at the officials and the teams and the sponsors and even other teams come up and smiled and laughed because they knew the real story, that we didn't do anything malicious the week before, but we had the world taken from us, we felt like. So to come back and now we're in the playoffs. We got the Triple Truck Challenge bonus. We got the win money. We needed it because we lost our sponsor. So this day right here is just the story. That is the David and Goliath in my eyes, as we all reference to in our lives, that we did it. And we proved the press the attack. No matter what we got in front of us, we're going to go through it, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to make it happen. And that was our year right there. To the bottom, to the top. That was 2019.